Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you very much. How's your day going so far?
Really nice, thanks. How about yours? You're in Vancouver, right?
Yeah. How about yourself?
I I'm in Ontario, Canada. So have you ever been?
Yeah, well, when I was a little kid, when my mom first moved to Canada, they moved to St. Catharines. So all of her family is out there, and so she's the only one that lives in BC.
So St. Catharines is only 15 minutes from me. I live in Niagara-on-the-Lake. I live in that beautiful little wine country.
Nice. That's awesome. Have you always been there?
No, I raised my family in Kitchener, and then we just always really liked the feel of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and we just wanted to settle down, be a little bit quieter. And that's when we moved after the kids were all grown up.
It's more of a suburb there.
Yeah, well, I live right in, like, I've got orchards and vineyards all around me. So I live in a cul-de-sac. I still live right in the city village, I guess, but 5 minutes out of my house, and I'm walking the orchards. Much different than Kitchener. Kitchener's now, the Tri-City area is like a Toronto, a little Toronto.
Yeah. Okay, I get you. It's kind of the same out here in BC. I'm in like a suburb of Vancouver, just south. It's called Richmond. It's where the airport actually is, the Vancouver airport. And but we're out in like the east side of the city, so it's like all cranberry farms out here. So it's kind of a similar vibe to what you're talking about. I still live on like a residential street, but like if I look out my backyard, it's just cranberry farms for acres and acres and acres.
That can make all the difference, I find. My son is actually in Kamloops right now. He was grooming for Sun Peaks, and he and
Wow.
his girlfriend are, he's in construction and excavating, and she's going to be managing a campground over the summer. She's a park ranger.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, there's tons of stuff like that out here there for sure. I mean, I guess Ontario is the exact same because it's all woods and lake country as well, right? So it's yeah, there's so much. That's one of the things I super love about living in Canada, especially like where you're at sounds pretty similar, where you can just literally disconnect and go to nature whenever like that's it. That is, I joke and tell people like that's why we pay so much more in BC than our neighbors in Alberta. No shame on Alberta. I love you guys too, but it is why it's more expensive to live here. One of the reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, like for people, sorry, I didn't really explain anything about my podcast, but I kind of just jump right into it and I just kind of have conversations. So for anyone that's jumping in here that hasn't heard of you, just kind of tell people like who you are, what you're about, where they can find you, and then we'll just continue going because I think this is we're killing it right now.
All right. So, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful for an opportunity to get the work out there. I think when people can realize how powerful their breath can be, especially in today's kind of crazy world, I think it can make a big difference. So, my name is Tabatha DeBruyn, and I'm a transformational breath master. What does that mean? I teach very simple breath patterns that change the physiology in the body, how the body feels, but it also changes how the brain works. And if people want to, I teach them how they can move into the subconscious mind to excavate what's no longer working and allow the wisdom of the body to heal it, bring it out of the body, and then reprogram the subconscious mind for optimization. That's what I do in a nutshell.
That's epic. How did you like before you get into all of that? Like how did you get into this kind of stuff? Were you just looking up breathwork stuff? Was it something that you had going on and you were like just started doing it, or was it like you caught a Wim Hof video on YouTube and you're like, let's go? Like what? How kind of how'd you get into it?
Well, I've listened to some of your podcasts, so I love that you are open, honest, authentic. So if you'll just give me a couple of minutes, I'll tell you the windy path to getting to realizing that breath can be the through line to all of my coaching and all areas of my life. So I was a high school teacher for 15 years and I loved teaching. I empowered kids to know they were worthy and capable of more than they ever thought. I loved to help them, expand their curiosity for learning. But I had a desire for a bigger life and my salary was capped. So, as much as I loved that, I wanted to travel with my kids. I wanted them to have a chance to see more of the world and I didn't want to put it on a credit card. I like nice things. I really wanted to get involved in mission work. And at the end of the month, there was more month than there was money for the things that I really desired. But I followed the nudge and I got into entrepreneurship. So I started to work a side hustle, if you will, an online health and wellness business alongside teaching full time and raising the kids. And I fell in love with entrepreneurship. And I believe, like, when it's a calling and a nudge and a passion, health and wellness has always been something that's really, really important to me. It was aligned with who I was and how I wanted to show up in the world. And it blew up. And I built a multi-million-dollar online business in about 13 months. It was really rapid. But then I had choice. So I chose to leave the classroom, not because I didn't love teaching, but the world became my classroom. And I traveled a lot with the boys. But then I got into teaching other startup entrepreneurs. So I got into transformational coaching. It was just like one door open, another door open, one door closed. And I kept following that I would have these people in front of me and they would have big dreams and big desires and absolutely the skill and the potential. But these limiting beliefs that would just have them shut down and just close down on their dreams over and over and over again. I am a curious cat, so I went to school for metaphysical psychology and started to incorporate that more and more in transformational coaching, found that made a big difference, but it wasn't giving me the rapid results that I wanted for my clients. So I knew that it was only about 5% of the conscious mind that it was holding them back. It was much deeper than that. It was in that really powerful subconscious mind that I needed to learn more about. So again, I went back to school and studied rapid transformational hypnotic therapy. And so when you're teaching and being a mom and a wife and also an entrepreneur and psychology and hypnotherapy, you put that all together. And I was really helping people see enormous results. And I was loving it. With entrepreneurship, I had a lot of flexibility in my schedule, which I'm very, very grateful for because, as you've mentioned in some of your podcasts, you just never know when life's going to hit. And you got to be prepared. And the more tools you have, the more freedom, flexibility, and confidence and energy you have, the more you can handle that in a resilient way. And my mom got very sick at 58 years old, and it surprised everyone. And they called us all in. We thought we were at our end with her. And we actually ended up having 10 extra years. But I never left a time with her without saying everything that needed to be said. So I'm so grateful for that time. But 10 years of up and down and twists and turns. And she was in a home. There was a lot of anxiety in my family. There was a lot of PTSD with that. And it was hard. So I became a primary caregiver for her with the help of the home and still juggling all the balls with all of the areas that in my life, like my own family and entrepreneurship and coaching. And when she passed, I knew I would grieve, but I didn't realize the depth that I would grieve. And I didn't realize how I would grieve and how unaware of it I was. So I was fine as long as I was serving somebody. If I was doing the mom thing, the wife thing, the coach thing, the entrepreneur thing, I was good. But when I was all by myself, I was struggling with functional depression. And I'm the person people go to when they have the struggles in their life. So I was embarrassed. So I was having panic attacks. I was having insomnia. My hands were going numb and I was frustrated. My confidence was low when I didn't have to be on for somebody else. And I tried all of the modalities in my It's big. But I believe when the student is ready, the teacher comes. So this is the way I'd like to answer your question. I was scrolling Instagram and Brian Kelly, the founder of Breath Masters and 9D Breathwork, came along my feed. Now, I had done breathwork in a meditative state many times, moving from fight, flight, freeze into down regulation, the parasympathetic nervous system. I understood that, but that wasn't working for me. It wasn't the tool that I needed alone. And when I really looked at what he had to offer, I was curious, and that's always a good sign. It felt aligned. He built trust. And I signed up for a 90-minute online session. He was in Bali, Indonesia, and I was in Ontario, Canada. And I went all in. I really surrendered and I was breathing deep. And on the other side of that somatic breathwork journey, I was a different person, which sounds really lofty. But unless you have tried it, I can tell you, like, it can be a profoundly life-changing session. So what happened for me was my body felt safe. But then through the guided coaching and many other things in the soundscape that I'd love to chat about, I realized that I had been repressing anger. I had no idea in my conscious mind how angry I was, resentful, shamed, guilt, sad, you name it, it came up. And it came up and I was a detached witness. It's not like I relived this. It just was like everything I'd pushed down was allowed to come out of my body. And on the other side of that journey, I was in great peace. I had better understanding. There was forgiveness. I felt like I had a better relationship with my mom than I did even when she was here. I feel like I had a conversation. And I thought, I believe this is part of my soul contract with my mom, that it had to be that way for me to know the depths of what functional depression can feel like, what it looks like in the rest of your life, and how profoundly different you can feel when you find the right facilitator and you find the modality that can help you use your body wisdom to heal. So that's my long-winded, but at the same time, very honest journey of how I found breathwork.
Well, I love it. That's a crazy story, honestly, from the very beginning of what you were saying about starting your business, balancing that. Because even just like being a mother plus working at the same time and being a wife like that already like is enough to would assume drive somebody crazy. And I could only imagine that because like I help run a family business. I have 3 cats depending on me, like me and my fiance, like it's not really that much pressure, but I still feel like stressed sometimes about all that stuff. I could only imagine with all that. And so, like before you had this kind of experience with, um, kind of losing your mother and having all this pressure build and looking for breath work, were you using was stress ever unmanageable before that? Or did you have other coping mechanisms, or was this kind of like the first time where it was like you felt completely overwhelmed and you needed to get an outlet? I know that might be prying, but
Oh, you can ask, please. That's what I love about your podcast.
okay.
Is it honest people supporting people so they don't feel like they're alone?
Mhm.
Oh, I think even as a child, a high achieving child, I felt stress and needed to learn how to manage that. As a mom, oh my goodness, there's nothing more trying than trying to raise boys,
Yeah, I
especially.
could imagine.
And I shouldn't say that because I'm sure I wasn't blessed with girls, but I taught a lot of girls. I'm sure they're tricky too. But yes, I had a lot of tools to use, and down regulation breath was one of them. I, like you, love to use a morning routine. Working out definitely helped. I love music, connecting, talking with other people, mindfulness. But I had never experienced what I did after mom passed, like the grip of grief and despair and wondering if I was going to just lose it, if I was ever going to be able to sleep through the night again, if I was ever going to be able to feel joy again. That's like nothing I'd ever felt before.
And do you think that that was just like something that you were so I've, actually, I think a lot about losing my parents. I think that's one of my biggest fears in life. It's something that like over the past few years, I've really like had to like it is a weird fear that I have, like almost not irrational, but I feel like in a way so here's a better way to say this. This is kind of maybe a better way to say it. I just had to get surgery on my shoulder, right? And my dad's had a couple surgeries on his shoulder. And I talked to my surgeon. Part of it is because we have like hyper mobility. And so it just puts us at risk. So like I in a way, it puts me like at a heightened risk, more susceptible to dislocations, you know? And so do you think that maybe certain events like that we're maybe more susceptible to? Like, I feel like that's going to be a moment in my life where it's going to be a turning point, even though I've been anticipating it, meditating on it, journaling about it. I think losing a parent, like, that's kind of like a weird pivotal point where we're almost like, I guess, but I've seen other people that just kinda go through it and maybe we don't notice it. It's a weird thing to think, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you think that maybe that was, like, your event that you were meant to experience? Is that kind of what you were trying to say? Like, you were most susceptible to it would be, like, the loss of your mother, whereas somebody else, they might break under something else because that's just what they're most susceptible to? Does that make sense as a question or no?
Sense, absolutely. And I think we're all really different. And I don't think there's any right way to grieve. And some people it's going to hit hard right away. Some people it hits before the death actually transpires. Some people it's years after. And I think it's for all different reasons. She passed about 4 years ago. And there are still days where I just wanna pick up the phone and talk to my mom.
Oh.
Like, that's the reality. But at the same time, do I really believe that it happened exactly as it was supposed to? Yes. Do I have to like it? No.
Right, right.
But because it really took me down a path that opened up doors for me to live my purpose. And I still believe that she's right with me every step of the way, just in a different existence.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I firmly believe that as well, but, it is something that, I just feel like I'm somebody that believes like we're here for a purpose, right? Like we're here for a reason. And I don't know if I believe fully in like kind of a reincarnation. I know a lot of like Christians. I like to call myself a follower of Christ. I don't like to align with a lot of what quote unquote Christians would agree with, but I think a lot of them sometimes there's this kind of like I feel like we're here for a reason, and I feel like if you don't figure that out or realize that, then you're kind of doomed to just like kind of repeat a process until you understand it. And so for most of us, that's just really empathy, like for other people, like realizing the whole love thy neighbor principle. But I also feel like there's kind of like probably little like sub reasons why we're here. I played a lot of video games growing up. I'd call them like side quests. You know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like there's all these little like sub reasons why we're here. And obviously like the events play into that. And I've always just kind of felt like there's just like certain things we're supposed to experience to feel for ultimate like realizing the ultimate realization, if that makes sense. And I feel like yeah, I don't know. I feel like the big one for me is like the loss of a parent. I've always wondered, even just like why I wonder about it all the time. You know, like that's just like I don't know, the way my brain works is it's a weird kind of thought experiment. But the breath work thing is super interesting because I've kind of flip-flopped a lot over the last few years. I was definitely somebody that like I was like the world is black and white. I didn't believe in anything that I couldn't see, touch, taste, hear, smell, whatever the senses are, right? And then I went completely what you'd consider like maybe what I'd consider, I shouldn't project, but what I'd consider to be like woo woo. And then now I kind of find myself somewhere in the middle. I was having a funny conversation about something the other day with somebody, and we were talking about something that like people wouldn't normally believe in. And I was like, honestly, at this point, I've seen way weirder shit in real life, to be honest. Like, there's like the weirdest shit is so, like, it's so crazy. Like the saying is, reality's stranger than fiction, right? But, and even just talking about like, oh, I'm gonna talk to somebody that does the breath with she's a specialist in breath work. My fiance, she loves that kind of stuff, and she's like, oh, that's so cool. And she's like, yeah, like where do you stand on it right now? And I was like, well, it would depend on what somebody would define as breath work. Because I've seen so many things claimed about what people will like umbrella it into like the whole idea. And that's where I kind of am like, it depends. But my background with it, my thoughts about it are, I've learned about box breathing. I like learned about kind of breath work to calm myself down in certain situations. I've tried the ice baths. When I'm not injured, I practice jujitsu, and a lot of that is like restricting your breath and then having to calm yourself down while you're not able to breathe, which is an interesting thing. But there's been a lot of like tangible real life kind of examples where I can just like feel my heartbeat go like super high, say like an ice bath or like in jujitsu or even on a run when like my heart feels like it's going to beat out of my chest. I feel like I'm panicking and my brain gets the red alert, like stop what you're doing right now, stop, stop, stop. And being able to kind of like have a few techniques in my back pocket to just like, okay, let's slow the heart rate down. Let's like, okay, you can take a breath. If you can take a breath, you're okay. You can make it to the next second. What's the best thing to do from here? It's kind of like being able to, like you said, take it from like a fight, flight, or freeze kind of position to being able to like analytically think about what's going on. Okay, how can I get myself just in a little bit like 1% of a better situation? Can I survive this? Can I survive that? Like sometimes it's just about getting to the next step. And I've seen those like tangible results with breath work in that way in my life. What I can say, like, I don't know people again, the definition seems to be loose. Maybe you can define it for me, but like, I feel like, then there's the other side of it where and I've seen these things and I do believe it, like the Wim Hof thing where he gets E. coli or Ebola or whatever it is injected. I'm a carpenter, so you have to forgive me. I don't know all the terms, but he gets injected with something that's not supposed to be like recoverable from, and then he like breathes it out. And I see that and I'm like, honestly, I've seen weirder shit happen in life. Like I believe that. So, like, where do you lay on all this kind of stuff? Like, is it just a tool to, like, put yourself in a better state of mind? Is this something that can, like, completely would you have suggested I do breath work as opposed to get surgery on my shoulder? Like, where you know what I mean? Like, where do you kind of fall on that? How would you define it? And just know I'm more skeptical about what they say on the news than whatever you're gonna say. I'm gonna believe whatever you say. So
I would just love to be able to educate you and your listeners so you can make an informed decision as to where you feel breath work might fit into your life and where it feels aligned and where it doesn't. But first and foremost, I love that breath can immediately change your state. And rather than just talk about it and me give you a whole lot of science, which I will, but I would love for your listeners to actually feel it because breath is experiential. And so we'll just start with something that even if your listeners are driving, you can do this. It is scientifically the fastest way to change your state. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. I'll count you in, so I'll talk for a little bit. But you're going to take a deep breath in through the nose and you're going to push it down into the belly like you're inflating a balloon. Most people throughout their day, we live at a really fast paced society and we usually breathe in and out shallow through the mouth. And really, when you think about how a lot of people breathe, they breathe in through the mouth and pull the abs in. If you think about bringing air in, inhaling, you want to inflate the belly. So what I'm going to have us do in 3, 2, 1, take a deep breath in through your nose and inflate the belly. Now we're going to breathe out longer on the exhale, slowly through the mouth. If you notice what you feel in the body, likely you feel a little bit more grounded, maybe a little bit more calm. Your heart rate went down, your blood pressure went down. And what I find really fascinating is you have more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. So you're going to have greater clarity in your mind. That was with one breath. Now you can imagine the more you change your breath pattern to be in a particular state in the body, the more you're going to feel the differences. Now, how did that feel in your body? Did you notice anything with just one breath?
It felt like a second lasted longer.
Isn't that fun?
It's crazy, yeah. It is weird how it slows time. Like, it feels like you're living in real life.
And what it does is it brings you back to the present moment, which is something I was hoping our conversation would loop back to, because we were talking about your mom and dad. And, you know, I love that you are thinking about how you would feel. But what I would encourage you to do is come back to the present moment. Just live fully in the moment. If you are thinking of them, pick up the phone. If you can have that conversation, live in the how precious time is, not in fear of, oh, I don't know how much time I have with them, but rather in, but I do have this moment, because it really is a gift. We never know, whether it's parents or not. You never know when our last conversation is going to be. And not to be morbid, sometimes I think we all need to be a little bit more aware that we don't know when our number's up. So live fully in the moment, and your breath can be a place to bring you back to the present moment. Because if you think about the what ifs, you're going to be in anxiety and likely in fight, flight, freeze, or the I wish I had of what has already transpired. You can't change that. But in this moment, coming back to your breath can be really, really powerful. And when your brain's working better, you're going to be more aligned and you're going to respond rather than react. That's going to help you in relationships, in your career, in meditation and whatnot. So I'd love to teach one more breath pattern, because the key was in through the nose, inflate the belly, longer on the exhale. We quite often in our busy life feel that anxiety, the adrenaline, the cortisol. So I'd like to teach the physiological side, and that is breathing in through the nose, into the belly about 60%. Then you're going to take another sniff of air into the chest. So 2 inhales. This makes a nice long inhale, and then super slow through pursed lips like you're blowing through a straw, really long exhale. Let's just try this together. In 3, 2, 1, in through the nose, into the belly about 60%. Another sniff of air into the chest. Now relax audibly if you can through pursed lips, long on the exhale. There's a whole lot of science behind that, but you probably felt that. And that long exhale, if you can actually make a little bit of sound, pursed lips, that vibration, it stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the largest nerve in the body, from the brain to every single organ. It's going to help with digestion. It's going to help with thought. It's going to help you feel safe. That's what it does. So when you are asking, how do you feel about breath work? Well, it's science. It's neuroscience, which I'd like to get into even more about what we can do with the brain. But can it actually unlock wisdom in the body to heal? I know this to be true. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times in so many different ways. But would I still encourage you to go to your doctor and get an expert about whether you need surgery on your shoulder? 100%. But can you use the parasympathetic nervous system through breath before, during, and after surgery to speed up your recovery and to feel good in your body and confident and not be anxious about the surgery? That I know can be very, very powerful as well. They call the parasympathetic nervous system, that long exhale, rest, digest, and heal. And that's what you wanted for your shoulder. So it's more than just healing crazy things that really do bring attention to breath work. So I'm grateful for it. But I think breath can be a superpower for a child, for an adult, for an entrepreneur, for somebody who's looking to heal, for a surgeon, for anybody.
Mhm. Yeah, these are things that I literally, it is something that I use for like a solution for most things in my life in regards to just like, yeah, just relaxing myself. Cause I feel like almost every attributable mistake that I make is made when I'm not present. Whether it's like, oh, I injured myself because I wasn't paying attention, or I allowed my emotions to get the best of me and I said something I didn't like that I'm not proud of or whatever. No matter what it is, it's usually like a case of like, yeah, if I was a little bit more myself than like whatever was possessing me at the time, then I probably would have handled that situation better, or I wouldn't have injured myself, or, hurt someone's feelings or whatever it is. And, yeah, just reminding myself to breathe. I always joke with, I do home renovations and like restoration work. And I always joke with people because I'll sometimes forget to breathe. And then I'll do like an exaggerated inhale because I'll be like focusing on something like I used to do when I was painting all the time because I had to focus hard. But it would be like I'd hold my breath while I do my paintbrush stroke and then be like, "Oh, whoa, I did forget to breathe." But then you realize that we do that in like 90% of other things as well, like as above, so below. Like, oh, I also do that while I exercise. Oh, I also do that while I'm doing the dishes and something happens on TV that stresses me out or whatever it is. And like 90% of life's, I'd say like almost every attributable mistake that I could say is like my fault is like at a time where that's happening. But, it is again, it was something that I never really believed in, but there's so much, like, things that I've read, seen, felt that it's, like, inarguable. Like, it's one of the it is the I'd say it's, like, the one woo-woo thing that, like, irks me the most because it's so undeniable at this point. It's like, there's no way I could argue this. Have you ever read, I'm sure you have, maybe you haven't, I don't know. Have you read the book, Breath by James Nestor?
Yep. I'm like,
Crazy. That was the first book that I read where I was like, "Yo, there's something behind this." And I couldn't breathe out of my nose when I first read it. I had, like, suffered a few injuries and, my nose was completely destroyed, so I couldn't breathe out of it at all. Even now, I've had surgery to repair it, and it's like, you can see it's still crooked as hell. Yeah, so I'd say I could probably breathe like 75, 80% through my nose, like, where I should be. But even just that, coming up to that was, like, life-changing for me, like, just to be able to breathe through my nose. When I read that book and I saw the whole thing about the skull shapes and everything, I'm like, "This is insane." And the processed foods and how that changed the shape of our skulls through chewing and how that changed our breathing to make us all mouth breathers. I hate that. I hate that.
so you've brought up so many really good points about how it is important to become consciously aware of your breath. Because you said, "Oh, I hold my breath." Yes, many, many people hold their breath, and there's nothing wrong with holding your breath. Breath is part of the automated nervous system. The beauty is when you need a breath, your body's going to eventually say, "You got to take a breath," whether you like it or not, which is a beautiful thing. But becoming consciously aware of, okay, am I breathing? Am I breathing deeply? Am I breathing through my nose? Because what you did was you started to practice, so it became easier. But yes, breathing through your nose most of the time is what you want. It's your filtration system. It also calms the body, allows it to feel safer. And usually you get deeper breaths. And you want to do that while you're sleeping as well. So, as silly as it sounds, if your listeners are like, okay, I got to become more aware of my breath. If I can feel better in my body and make my brain feel better, have more energy so that I can execute and optimize in my life, then I need to become aware of my breath. Set a couple of alarms in your phone. Start to use breath in your vocabulary. If you have a family, like, let's just all take a breath. Before dinner, everybody's been really busy. Let's just take a breath. Let's breathe for a little bit before bed tonight. And with a partner, do you know one of the best ways you can get on the same page with somebody is to regulate your nervous system. So take a deep breath in, slow your body down, and then match their breath. And they will match your breath. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter what happened before, there's chemistry, there's connection there. And that works in the workplace. It works with kids. Regulate before you react and watch what happens because they'll mirror your regulation.
Oh, I've even seen that. Like I said, I grew up with dogs. I have cats now, and I've even seen that with like dogs and cats. Like I've seen that where they're like kind of chilling out, like cats all the time. They chill out on your belly when you're laying on the couch or whatever. And I've noticed that like my cats, even like my dogs growing up, like I'd go camping and they'd be in the tent with us or whatever. And, like, I noticed their breath sync up with mine. That was something I don't know why I noticed at a young age. Maybe it's just, like, one of those things where someone says there's a lot of red cars and you start noticing red cars. But, like, I noticed at a young age, I'm like, "Yo, her snoring almost got in sync with mine." Like, it was, like, weird. Like, it was, like it's kinda like I don't know what that is, but it is, there does seem to be, like everything in this world is cyclical in this universe. Like big on like kind of sacred geometry and how math works. And there is some sort of like numerology between, I think, like with the rhythm of the breath and the way that the world works, the flow of the world work. Like I don't know. I think that there's a reason that every single spirituality, like in the Bible, it says like we like God breathed life into Adam, right? I believe. I could be wrong on that, but there's like something behind this, like that is like ancient knowledge. You know what I mean? It's undeniable. There's a reason that every culture has that, from like yogic practices to every single spiritual book I bet you could find. I'm not an expert on it, but I've just seen so many examples. Do you think that this is like kind of like an ancient medicine that was forgotten, or do you think that it was forgotten, or do you think it's been held from us purposefully? I don't know if you have a tinfoil hat. Mine's lined underneath. You can't see it.
Well, it is an ancient medicine and a very, very powerful modality. And I think it has been brought very much forward in yoga, in a yoga practice, in meditation. And I think that Big Pharma has gone so far that we are coming back to the wisdom in the body. So I'd love to take, before I go into what can be perceived as a little bit of woo woo, because I'd like back it in science and then let your listeners figure out what feels aligned for them. So I'd like to teach another breath pattern. And this would be something you don't want to do if you are operating a car or heavy machinery, because it is going to make you feel a little lightheaded intentionally. I'm going to teach the euphoric breath. We're going to do the opposite of what I've taught at the beginning. You're going to breathe longer on the inhale. We're going to breathe through the mouth, and we're going to not even think about the exhale, and it's just going to be really short exhale. It looks like this. I breathe in through the mouth, into the belly, and then again, I breathe into the chest really deep, and then I relax and let go. If you do 5 with me, I just want you to notice what you notice. Again, if you're driving, just park this for later, but this is better than a cup of coffee. This is going to energize you in so many ways. So let's just try 5, but then I'm going to ask you what you feel. And then I'm going to tell you the science and how you
Short exhale. Sorry.
short exhale. Don't even think about the exhale. All the force, all the power, all the energy goes to the inhale. And then you can tell me what you feel, and I'll tell you what happened in your physiology. In 3, 2, 1, deep breath into the belly, chest, let go. Belly, chest, let go. Belly, chest, let go. Belly, chest, let go. Last one, belly, chest, let go. Those 5 breaths. What do you feel?
I feel like I'm suffocating.
You feel, what does that feel like to you?
Like I could hear my heart rate.
So your heart rate went up. Excellent.
Yeah.
Blood pressure went up a little bit. You also, do you feel a little bit lightheaded in your head?
Not no. I feel
Some people will.
yeah, I could see myself if I kept doing it. I 100% would have because I.
Get a little bit tingly,
Mhm,
a little heat in the body.
mhm. Yeah,
So what?
fingers are tingly for sure. Actually, now that I put them in my pockets, but yeah.
Exactly. That was just 5 breaths. We oxygenated the blood. We brought the state of the body up and started to energize the body. This is how you get confidence. This is how you get charisma. This is how you change your state if you don't want to get out of bed. This is how you can get creative. And I'll tell you why, because I'm going to tell you what happened in your brain. I talked to you about blood pressure went up, heart rate went up, your breath got shallower, you oxygenated the blood, oxygenated your brain, but we also took the blood flow away from the prefrontal cortex. We took it away from your beta brain. Your beta is your conscious mind. If you have ruminating thoughts, which many do, most of us have the same thoughts over and over and over again, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we took the blood flow away from that beta brain and put it into the muscles. So if you actually wanted to get going, physically moving, you've got more energy there, but that also opened up more of your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has 95% of our brain power. So that's why when you change your state, sometimes you'll have like a new idea come to mind. People will come to me when they are in the depths of despair, grief, frustration, burnout, anger, and what I will do is not downregulate them, put safety in their body because sometimes they want to fight for their limitations at that point. And I'm going to change the state of the body and the state of the mind. And I know you said one of the ways you optimize is when you have a workout first thing in the morning. That's exactly what I'm doing without having you put your muscles under resistance, really. I'm getting you to change your physical state because then reaching for a better thought is so much easier. People kind of think their way out of problems. If you could breathe first, change the physical state in the body and the mind, you're going to be much more optimistic about getting a better thought that's going to serve you and even planting some into your subconscious mind.
Mm. Yeah, it is interesting. This is a weird question, but I've always kind of thought about like the things that people do, like human beings. And I've always thought that a lot of things that have existed forever, or we've heard stories of forever, have some sort of a reason for being like around. That's where evolutionaryism or whatever would argue. And so, like, I've always thought about a lot of the things that human beings do in terms of like, drinking alcohol because I don't really drink alcohol. I had to go through a thought process of like, why do people like it? Because for me, it makes me depressed and anxious. I did it as a teenager and a young 20-year-old just to kind of like continue with my social circles. But there came a point where I was like, this doesn't really like everyone's chemistry is so different. It seems to work for everybody else, but for me, it doesn't actually work. Like, it doesn't make me feel the way it's like, it's not as advertised. Like, I'm not getting fulfilled what's advertised. And so I had to ask myself, like, why do people do this? And then I kind of like had my own kind of, you know, thought process of like, well, if two kings of like arguing nations got together and they really wanted to like get like to the bottom of things, you'd have to like kind of like break social norms, create more comfort, like facilitate a little bit of social lubrication. Like maybe there is some sort of a benefit to this. Like I get my chemistry doesn't work, but removing myself from the situation and just realizing there's probably some benefit to humankind as a whole, on aggregate, that like this is some sort of a benefit, whether it's the social lubrication, whatever. And then obviously when it comes to my situation or other people where it comes in excess or whatever it is, like that's the what do they say? The exception isn't the rule, right? And so I've always thought about that as well with like, obviously we like nice scents. We like the smell of things, but I've always thought about that with like things like candles, incense, even like even smoking, I would say. Like I know a lot of people like obviously it's not good to breathe in smoke, but what are you doing when you're smoking? You like literally almost identical to the exercise you do. I don't know if you ever smoked or not, or if you like talking about it, but I can say I've seen people do it. And what are you doing? You do a little inhale. A lot of people do a double inhale so they can get it into their lungs, and then they have a long exhale. That is literally the exercise you went through earlier. So like it's a weird connection to make, but I grew up kind of smoking, so it is something that I think about. And it's like one of those things where it's like, obviously, every culture across the world has some sort of a tradition with like lighting something and breathing it in, whether it's like a peace pipe, abusing it like a crack pipe on the downtown streets of east side of Vancouver. Like it's weird that every culture has it, you know? So like there must be something behind it. And like you could, I guess, maybe say, what I'd like to argue is like there is like some sort of a spiritual thing behind that practice of like why is it that every culture has like maybe it's just incense. Like what do you do when you smell a candle or an incense that you like? You're like, that's good. You know what I mean? Is there something do you get what I'm saying? Is there something behind that you think, or no? Am I just going
Well,
off the walls?
no, I think you're onto something. I don't have the answer as to why culturally we see that
No,
repeated,
let's just
but
pretend.
I can tell you that it helped many people stop smoking because they're getting high on their own supply.
Mhm,
Literally, they feel better in their body.
mhm.
Why people tend to smoke? They either want to be energized, they want to have more focus, or they want to downregulate. Well, I give them the tools in their back pocket that are free and so much more healthy. Now, I'm not saying, hey, if you want to smoke, that's totally fine, but just becoming aware of how your breath can make you feel very similarly in many ways.
Not only that, I'd even argue, like, because I've had that thought before of like, maybe the thing that I'm actually enjoying here is just like the reminder to breathe because you have like the mechanical, like if I held a pen and like just like breathe down that, but just forcing your body to go through like the actual practice of like, okay, breathe something in, breathe something out. Like maybe I'm just like, it's such a, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I'm talking.
No, I love that. I would love to explain a little bit about the specialization that I have with 9D breath work because not very many people know it. And I think you're going to find it really fascinating. And it's going to connect back to the red car situation that I know you've referred to. So 9D stands for 9 dimensions within this modality. So first and foremost, the power is the breath. That is the medicine. And when I say the medicine, it literally unlocks the pharmacy within the body to help you feel differently, help your body and your brain and your subconscious mind work differently. And in turn, change your energetic vibration around you, which is going to move into the law of attraction because that can be scientifically measured. When you have that vibration, you are going to attract more of that. So I'm going to park that for a second. Breath is the medicine. But beyond that, there are 8 other modalities within 9D breathwork, and they're all in a soundscape. So for people who struggle with meditation, and I listened to a podcast once where you said, sometimes just wondering what to journal. Like sometimes it's hard to just drop in. So for people that do struggle with those mindfulness techniques that are really, really powerful and we've had forever, this particular modality really can help because it's entertaining. It's actually fun. Kids love to do this and they feel amazing on the other side. So we use music. Music evokes emotion. Music changes state. We've talked about how important it is to change your state if you want to change your thoughts, change your belief, change your habits, which many people come to me, whether it be to break addiction loops, whether it be to let go of shame, guilt, frustration, fear, anxiety, burnout, etc. But we use music. We use 432 hertz. We use several frequencies, but especially 432 hertz because it puts the body at homeostasis without working. So you're just listening. We use stereo sound, so you don't have a clue where the sound is coming from. That busies the mind. We use something called binaural beats. Binaural beats slow down the brain waves. So it allows you to drop out of your ruminating thoughts, the beta mind, and drop into the present moment. And we use hypnotic suggestion as well. So you hear a layer of it and you don't hear another layer of it, but your subconscious mind continues to not only unearth what no longer serves it, but also reprograms what it will actually have. And we use guided coaching all the way through. So there are 9 different dimensions to what is happening. Breath is the most important, but then everything else just adds to it. So the reason I wanted to connect with the red car situation, if I could, can we do a little exercise? It's just, I love to show the experience as opposed to just talk about it.
No, I love it.
Amazing. No matter where you are, obviously it's a little different if you're driving, but if you could take a look around your room right now, and I want you to find as many things that are red. Look for anything that is red. Anything at all in the red family. I want you to count up red things. Are you seeing some red right now? You look, red is really important. Have you got them? Have you, like, excellent.
I can't count that fast. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So you're looking for red. Anything at all that's red. You're counting them up. The listeners as well, hope you're looking for some red things. You've got a number?
Yeah, I kind of made a guess.
Okay. And how many is that number?
It's in like the 30s.
In the 30s. Could you close your eyes?
Yeah.
How many blue things do you see?
It's a tough call.
His head. Or you can open your eyes. I have a bright blue shirt on.
Oh, you're sure? Yeah, I was just about to say that.
How many blue things, if you just take a quick scan around right now, do you think there's as many blue things as there are red things?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Probably more, to be honest.
Yeah. Now I'm going to tell you the neuroscience. This is what happened. I programmed what is called the reticular activating system in your brain. It's a RAS system. It's a filter in the brain that takes anything that is important and puts it into your conscious mind. In any given moment, we take in millions of bits of information, but we'd go crazy if we had to process them all. So the brain bypasses that. It acts as a really good secretary and says, okay, she said red was important, red was important, red was important. We'll put all of that in his conscious mind. He's aware of it. And we'll put everything into the subconscious mind that wasn't red. So that's why you start to become more aware of it. This is the thing. How do we program that reticular activating system? The thoughts we have over and over again. The thoughts we have, the things we hear, the influences we have, and the emotion that we connect with it. I said red is important. Like really focus in. Red is important. Really look for it. There was intensity in my voice. And so imagine when you're going about your day, if you are saying things to yourself, because our thoughts are what we hear and may not be aware of, are programming our reticular activating system all day long. So if you have thoughts like, I can never do anything right. I'm always making poor decisions. I'm overweight. I'm not athletic. I can never do things. I'm broke, which unfortunately many people do because of negative bias and everybody out there selling something from a pain point. So what I do with my work, especially with 9D breathwork, is I teach safety in the body and activation in the body, but I start to program the mind consciously and subconsciously to align with what you really want, how you really want to see yourself. And we do that through all of those different modalities. So if you start to say, I am healthy, I am vibrant, I am happy, opportunities come to me every day, I am living in the present moment. I see miracles around me every day, whatever it is your language would be. When you start to program your reticular activating system, you actually see those things. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy all day long. People will do 1 or 2 sessions with me because what happens in the journey is just the journey. That's just the tip of the iceberg because the subconscious mind continues to replay these things over and over and over again. Your automated nervous system, because we've been working with breath, starts to pattern it differently. They'll say, like, my life is completely different. I came to you and this is what I thought life was. And 2 days later, I've got opportunities that I never would have thought could happen. It's like magic. It's not magic. It's physiology and it's neuroscience.
Mhm. Yeah, it is something. It's so crazy. I Again, it's something that I think is undeniable. I love the 9 dimension as well because it's something I super relate to. I started getting very aware of how much music impacted my mood, my like state of mind, because I realized like when I'm driving, there's certain music I listen to. I grew up listening to kind of like punk music and metal music. Like I kind of liked that like almost like you said earlier, like, people will fight for their limitations. I was almost, like, addicted to the feeling it gave me. I didn't really understand what it was until I was older and realized, like, I don't really wanna be angry, and this kinda makes me angry or apathetic or, like, not really the same way. Or there'd be music I listened to that, "Oh, I wanna go and party when I listen to this. I wanna hang out with certain people. I wanna surround myself with different groups," and like, just I guess maybe I'm more influential, more influenced, I guess is a better way to say it. I'm more influenceable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Or maybe I'm more willing to admit it than the average person. I don't know which it is, but, like, I realize that, like, a lot of the times, like, when I'm feeling sad about my life or angry, like, oh, it's because I've been listening to this music all day. So, like, I had to intentionally make me, like, playlists where it's like, this encourages more of the values that I like in my life, or at least that, like, I just genuinely enjoy my life more when I listen to things like that. You know what I mean? But I am somebody who's like I've realized how much of like having a routine or having a certain thing in my life. I do like red light therapy in this room when I first wake up, and I have a specific playlist that I listen to when I first wake up. I do like a certain amount of stretches, and like I do like it's like I'm very stringent on these things because I'm like I literally just feel better when I do it, and I don't want to not do it. Like it's like a weird I don't like how I feel if I miss those things. It's something and breath work is one of those things. It's something that again, it's something that I think about so often and I'm like, "Oh, like I think about it more than I'm good at it." If that makes sense. Like I
Wait.
think of
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say that brings me to something I'd like to offer your listeners and yourself. If they go to my website, tabatha.online, they can sign up for my newsletter. Immediately in their inbox, they will get a 7-minute cinematic trailer explaining 9D. All you do is throw on some headphones. It's going to take all of those different modalities and extract them and explain the science behind them. And then you're going to hear them start to come together and you will feel amazing in your body. On the other side of that is a 5-minute 9D breathwork reset. So use this with your family, use it with your partner, use it with your kids, use it in the middle of the day because practice is how you start to automate something. And I love that you've got these habits because habits don't need motivation because you're out of alignment with how you want to feel and how you want to show up in the world if you don't actually do them. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and just realizing too, like I think a lot of it is like realizing how I don't know why, maybe it was just me, like, I fought the idea for a long time of how influenceable I was. I don't know if that's a word or if I'm using it wrong or pronouncing it wrong, but it seems right to me right now. So, it's like the amount of time I spent on my phone, looking on social media, and then you just start to feel bad about your life. And you're like, "Oh, no, I just almost, like, intentionally did that to myself." Like, it's kind of like a weird cycle that we're in. Or, like, yeah, like I said earlier, like, you listen to rap music and guys are talking about, like like having multiple women, having lots of money, having multiple cars, and you're like, oh, maybe my life sucks. Like, how come I don't have those things? Like realizing how many of these little things influence, like you said, the subconscious mind. When you were saying that earlier about this, the example with like the red things in the room, the blue things in the room, it reminds me of this thing. I had a boss that I don't know if they intentionally did this and they knew all this science and they're as smart as I think, or maybe they just randomly didn't want to do more work than they had to. But they used to tell me like, don't come to me with a problem unless you've thought of a solution of your own. But, like, just subconsciously what you're doing, like you said earlier, is, like, going to a solution-based mindset of, like, I'm looking for solutions, solution, solution, as opposed to, like, "Oh my goodness, I have this problem," and then they go, "Well, what about this?" And then you're like, "Well, there's a problem with that too, because I'm the exception to that rule, and my life's so different, and I'm so hard, and my clients suck, and da 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 da, my leads are bad," or whatever it is. Like, it's like, it's, like, switching it into, like, this, okay, just think of one solution by yourself. At least then, like, it might not even be the solution, but like at least like get your brain thinking about how can I solve this? You know what I mean?
What a gift from that employer. If you learn that at a young age, that rather than be in victim mode and be perseverating on the problem and programming the reticular activating system to find more problems, they are teaching you to be resilient, to be solution oriented, to be growth mindseted. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would say you are very aware. That's what I would say. You are very aware. You're aware of what is influencing you. Whereas many people
Yes.
just are not aware of the influences that are coming in. It's so important to really protect who you spend time with, what you allow in your ears, what you allow into your mind, because it is programming your overall optimization and joy and health in life. And that can be scientifically proven.
And even just like what you value, because like I said earlier, like you listen to like certain music and then you start thinking about, oh, my life sucks. And then you're like, what am I actually thinking? Like, dude, I don't even value those things. It's just because someone else says they value it, you attribute, you're like, oh, it must be good. Like the whole like keeping up with the Joneses or this like it's like a false pretense, right? Because it's like, oh, that means like by default, I want what they have. But, like, dude, what if, like, the Joneses are just collecting a bunch of, like, what do they call those things in the '90s? Beanie Babies. Like, it's like, what if they're just the Joneses like, I don't wanna keep up with them in that case, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a weird thing that we do where we almost, like, we, like, pawn off the act of, like, actually thinking about our own values.
That's what I do in transformational coaching. I help people come up with how do I really want to show up in the world and figure out the words and the clarity of what they value, what's important, what they really desire, not what somebody else has told them they should desire, and get aligned with how they want to show up. I help them create a self concept, which sounds like something that's just like a little affirmation. It is so much more than an affirmation. It is getting clear of your identity. And when you are clear of your identity, that is where your standards for every area of your life are met. And when you execute at those standards, you start living the way you truly want to in life. But a lot of people don't know how to get there. And it's one of my favorite things to do is ask the questions, give them some help and really find out, untangle what's not serving them and help them realize that they're worthy and capable of whatever it is they really want and help them get clear about stepping into that.
How hard is that? Because I feel like so many people, I like if when I just picture that, like I know like what my job's like when like the phone call comes in and a customer or a client, whatever word vernacular you like to use, like someone comes in and they're like, this is the problem. I want to have a bathroom renovation, a kitchen renovation. This is what I want. This is the existing. It's very cut and dry a lot of the time. There's some situations where people are like, "I don't really know. Could you give me some ideas of what I could do?" And, I'm down for that sometimes, but one thing I do appreciate is like again, the rigidity, the black and whiteness of like, this is what it looks like. This is what we want, whether it's like an AI generated photo or they've hired a designer, whatever. It's very cut and dry. But I feel like so many people nowadays, because of, like I said, the reality TV, the like streamers that perceivably make millions, the influencers online, like a lot of people, I feel like they're like, I want to get my followers to 1 million. That would be like what I assume most people are like nowadays. Like, because I've heard like weird things like that influencer is like one of the most popular things. Like if you ask kids at school, what do you want to be? Influencer. And that instantly alarms me. Is that like what we're dealing with? Is that what most people say to you? Or do they just give you like cut and dry, like, or cookie cutter, I guess is more what I'm trying to say of like, I want more freedom. I want more autonomy. How hard is it to get down to like the brass tacks of like, I could give an example. One of the things I like about my job is I like that my problems are things and not people a lot of the time. And I also like the fact that people want me there a lot of the time, like, because I'm fixing a problem. So people are like, oh, you're here. Like, don't go. Like, a lot of the time, they don't want you to leave because if you go to another job, contractors usually it takes a while to get back, right? So people, once you get there, they're like, so what time you coming tomorrow? I'll have coffee on for you. They're excited, right? And so, like, I like that about my job. It's nice to feel wanted. It's nice to feel useful. I and so, like, these are things I've had to think about. What do I need from my job? But I feel like a lot of people, like I said, are just gonna say things like, "I just want more freedom. I want more autonomy." Like, they'll just say kind of surface level things like that. Is that
Uh, It does. They usually start there, but that's why it's my job to ask questions.
yeah, how hard is that? That's what I was trying to ask.
No, it can. Humans are human, right? We're like we have patterns. And there's usually, if I were to ask, if I could wave a magic wand, what would your life look like? And then next question would be whatever the answer. I'd say why. And then I'd put it into the health category, the relationship category, the uh, your purpose, your passion category. It would be in. We don't have that many categories in our life, and then I get really clear, and I'll ask why. What will that make you feel? And why do you want to feel that way? Because people will come and they'll say, I want this. And I'll say, what we really want is this feeling. So let's help you get there. Let's shorten that learning curve.
Yeah. It is something that, again, it's something I just think about a lot. It's like, a lot of the times I'm thinking these things and I'm like, does anyone else think these things? But that's honestly the reason I started the podcast in the very beginning is like, I just want, like, if one person hears it and they're like, whoa, I've thought that 1 million times and never heard it said before. That's the feeling I love giving people. Like, because that's what got me addicted to listening to podcasts, and it's, I don't know. Is there like aside from like my presupposition of influencer, is there like other things? Do you feel like there's like certain things that people are yearning for nowadays? Is there like a common thing that everyone is like, I need blank?
I think a lot of people feel stuck. They want to feel movement. They want to feel joy. They want to feel ease. Uh, you know, People will come for greater health and vitality. People will come for joy. People will come for they want to feel flow in their life. People come to open up the money portal. They want to know that they have the ability to bring more money in. And I help them first feel safe in the body, clear in the mind, figure out what they love and how they can contribute, and that they're absolutely worthy and capable. And then we start to program the brain and the body to take the actions that are going to net them the results in whatever area it is. A lot of people come for health and vitality. A lot of people don't love the way they feel in their clothes. Well, that's so much deeper. And because of the work that I do through somatic breath work, we let go of the comparison. We let go of some of those past traumas that can be even generational. So I work on so many different layers, but generally people come to me when they know they are destined for more. They want to find more joy, more health, more vitality. They want to feel better in their body and contribute in some way in this world at a greater extent. And I help them get clear about that as quickly as possible. I cut through the bullshit. I'm just like, let's take the mask down. You have unconditional loving space right here. Yes, you want to get rid of that addiction cycle? We can do that. And let's figure out where it came from. We don't need to relive it. Let's let go of the shame, let go of the guilt, and start to help you step into the identity you really want to live and help them know they don't have to do it alone. Yeah.
Yeah, that is it's crazy. It's funny because when I think about it, like breath work in and of itself, again, this kind of is a good illustration of how my brain works. By default, I just think about mental and physical health. That's all I really associate it with. It's like when you go to get your checkup, your doctor or whatever checkup, and they come and check you for your health, what are the main things they check is like how your breathing sounds and what your heart rate's like. And it's like, well, you can kind of manipulate what your heart rate's like with your breath. Like that's like the first thing you kind of learn about it, right? So I'm always thinking about that when I do those tests. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna flex on this person. I'm just gonna breathe super slow my heart rate down. They'd be like, yo, resting heart rate 32? This guy's so chill. Hey, this guy's so chill. So I always think about those things. Like it is interesting how like those are the two things. They come with the stethoscope, they come to check your heart rate, they come to check your breathing. And it's like, wait, I can just improve, I guess, like the main metrics of health just by like practicing this like couple-minute thing. Like that feels like cheating. Like it's like, am I actually like, because like I
Be a cheat code, or it could be just something that you're very aware of. Yes, I can manipulate my physiology through my breath. Now, you want to do it for the right reasons and you want to do it in an aware state, but most people don't realize that. That is a skill that you have that, yes, you might be cheating the system a little bit.
I lied about the 32 heart rate. I was exaggerating.
Yes, of course.
Obviously I made that up, but it is something like it is like a funny thing to think about. Like again, I got the tinfoil hat on, but like it took me like reading books, like I said, like James Nestor, or the other one that I read was it's a famous one by a famous jujitsu practitioner. It's actually called Choke, but he does like the whole like ice bath thing, but he goes like with a snorkel. He'll like fully immerse ice bath. And like his whole thing is about breath work. Like if you, I can't remember which Gracie it is, but it's a famous jujitsu family. If you look up the book Choke, it's like it's about the exact same thing, like breathing techniques and how like if like when you watch a 3-hour interview with him on Rogan and they're talking about martial arts, he's sitting there talking about how he's like breathing with a snorkel in an ice bath. Everyone else is talking about like training with heavy bags and stuff. And this guy's just a nerd about breathing. Like it's crazy how I guess like the when I found out about these books, that's what the thought I was going on. These podcasts and books, I felt like, how did I not hear about this? Like, why was I felt like robbed, like the whole James Nestor thing. Like, I was like, man, why was I eating these processed foods as a child, not gnawing on bones and meat and like developing a wider skull? Like, I felt like it was like an injustice. Like, why did I not hear about this? Like, why was I not told to be breathing through my nose while I was like doing certain activities or breathing through my mouth when doing other activities? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I was like, how do I know how to apply a Band-Aid, but I don't know how to breathe properly? This seems stupid. This doesn't seem right. As a 30-year-old, I feel like a child. Like, it's like, like, it's like, this doesn't seem right. Why do I know how to tie my shoes, but not breathe? This is dumb.
Well, and you are changing. If you want to be the change, you be the change you want to see in the world, right? You are getting the word out, allowing people like myself to be able to share. But this is actually being piloted in schools right now in the UK and Australia,
Really?
9D work. And they're seeing test scores go up, absenteeism go down, confidence go up, participation in extracurriculars going back up. Like we are making waves. We're just, you know, letting people know. That's getting the word out. And I would encourage people to go to my website, take a look around. If you're curious, I do a 30-minute complimentary call. You would be surprised the breath patterns that are going to change your life and how quickly we can start to identify some of those things that you really want to live in life. Because finding a trusted facilitator and learning a little bit more to see if it's aligned, it could really make a massive difference for you.
Yeah, it does seem like something that, again, it's like, why do I learn how to use a sewing machine as a 14-year-old boy, but I don't learn how to breathe? Like, I don't really get that. Like, those are the things that boggle my mind. But it does seem like, again, I'm hoping I'm like this again. I'm trying to think of a way to say it without saying what I've already said, but it's like it is something that it should be something that, taught in schools. It should be something that's taught in the homes. It should be like every hockey coach I had growing up should have been telling us about this. So you know what I mean?
I'm
Like it's
working teams all over. I work with high level athletes. I work with young athletes, even to know for hockey players to how to down regulate before if the ref makes a bad call or a teammate doesn't hit the shot, or even worse, you didn't do as well as you would have liked to. You've got to be in the car with your mom or your dad on the way home feeling like you're a failure. This is what breath can it can change the state and the confidence in our athletes. Yeah. I agree for sure.
Oh, even when I'm just in my kitchen getting reamed out by my fiance sometimes if I make mistakes or if I don't feel like I've made a mistake, I'm like,
Mhm.
I need it.
Well, I have
Yeah.
a program. It's a signature program. It's called a 7-day reset. And it can be done online or it can be done just through the recordings. And it teaches people the very best transformational tools as well as breath patterns for all different times in your life. And it can be done with a partner as well. This is how we're going to get the word out and how people can start to claim happiness in their life as well. I hope people will go and take a look.
Yeah, yeah. I'll share all the links as well in the description. I'm gonna shoot you an email just to get everything so I don't miss anything. But did you have like where did you grow up with with the whole like idea of what we call woo woo? Were you like kind of somebody that was very kind of like I am, more rigid and black and white and kind of what was your experience with it? Was there something that about breath work that completely blew your mind?
How quickly I could feel different in my body and have a very different outlook on life in the situation. Like after doing that first somatic breath work and letting that tension out of my body and having peace and feeling like I had a conversation with my mom, even though she's no longer here. Yeah, it did family change me. But as a little girl, did I think I'd be a transformational breath master? No. But I've always been spiritual, but I've always wanted to support it with as much in our 3D reality as possible. And I am very spiritual, and I have taken people to non ordinary states that would blow your mind through breath work if that's what they'd like, because you get to, through breath, you can unlock the pharmacy in the body. Um, and truly take yourself without any foreign substance going into your body to those non-ordinary states and take spirituality to a whole new level, and I can integrate with them. But I also like to back it in what's happening through science as well. So I think I'm a combination.
Yeah, and I've like I've been chemically influenced to do those places before, but I have 100% heard that there are people that I don't know if it's like a skill you have to develop or someone has to walk you through it. Maybe you know better, but I have heard of those things before that people can get there with just breathing, and it's like
Yeah.
That alone.
Plus, I have a 9D and it's called 9DMT. And through the breath patterns, it helps to release DMT naturally in the body. And it's actually the soundscape was filmed with permission in a ceremonial, much like ayahuasca, in a ceremonial setting, but it's just the sound and your natural breath. But you do want to work with a trusted facilitator for integration through that. It is really important. That's why I do those 30-minute discovery calls to make sure you're getting your questions answered, demystify what is going to happen. And at the same time, you can set intentions, but it usually blows your mind. And the other side of any journey that I've had with people, they're like, that was wild. I don't even have words, but I feel so much lighter.
Yeah, yeah, I could imagine that. There's definitely been times where yeah, I like how you said, like, you can set intentions, but most of the time I go into an experience, like, even just like counseling or therapy, like, you go and you're like, okay, I need to go in and deal about, like, I just need to be able to talk to my boss better. And then you leave and you're like, wow, I got to call my mom because there's an argument that we had. You're like, it's like you can set intentions, whether or not that's what is reality is going on, like, in reality, then that's a different story. I love that. And that is crazy, because that's a lot of the things I've been listening to. What's that, there's that one, like, drug that they use. It's not, I don't think legal in North America, but I think in Mexico. Is that North America? I guess it is North America, but in Mexico, there's this, like, drug. It's a hallucinogen, and it's like a super long lasting one. Like, we're talking like 18 hours. And I think, like, after 2 experiences, it's got, like, an extremely high, rate. It's really popular with veterans. And, plant medicine is always something that, again, it's been a very, I used to never believe in it, and then I've had experiences with it, and then I've kind of flip-flopped between, like, this is the answer, no, this isn't the answer. I know a lot of things in life I've found is, like, it's probably 10% of the answer. That's where I always kind of find myself thinking. It's like a yes, it's like a good improv group. Yes, and, like, it's kind of like we need to do this as well. And, it is something that, and you've discussed it as well, like, you do use the breath work with addiction. G like, I don't know what your experience is, but I've lived in downtown where we live here, and it's, like, crazy running rampant in terms of, like, addiction. And,
Well, addiction, what I am noticing, it's everywhere, but addiction not just to substances, and I work with many substance, situations, but it's addiction to worry. It's addiction to doom scrolling. It's addiction to comparison. It's addiction to success, working out, shopping, pornography, gaming, and there's always a reason. So I really hope your listeners, if this is something they're curious about, they realize find somebody who's going to hold unconditional loving space. There's a reason why. And if you want to make change, you can make change. And there are modalities out there, and breath is a big one to help you break those cycles. You have to want to do it. It is breath work for a reason. It is work. But again, the 9D can really help you drop into that and reprogram, and like the wisdom of the body to do the healing, to optimize. It can be extremely powerful. But yes, I believe addiction is something that we have to start to look at and give people some tools without the shame and the guilt.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and just talk, like, I again, you hit the nail right on the head when you're like, it's not just substances. It is, like, I feel like the most addicted society. I feel like that it's crazy because even just thinking about the word addiction, it's like really just like a positive or negative coping mechanism when you think about it. And it is crazy how we have this, like, built in, like, what are we coping for? It's like, well, we have this discomfort. What does the discomfort show up as? A heightened heart rate, the tingling you're talking about, the pit in your stomach, these types of things. Like, that's the only time you ever feel like you have to cope is, like, when you're stressed out, you're anxious, A lot of people, they'll reach for a substance. Some people, they'll reach for a screen. I've been on a tirade recently about screen time, and I hate it so much. It's become the one thing I'm like trying to become hyper aware about. But it's it is something like it's weird that, like you said, the pharmacy of the body, we have this like built-in like way to cope. And yeah, like why do we reach for this like evil device? Why do we reach for, a sugary snack? Why do we reach for, home baked food? You name it, right? You said the best list there is: video games, pornography, da 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 da. Like there's endless things, but yeah, we literally have one programmed into us. Like if there,
And it's free.
yeah, and like it literally, it's funny is like even as I picture that, I picture God just sitting there being like, "I showed you guys, you come on," and like it's so funny. I out of respect for your time, how you doing for time? Are we got it wrapped?
I do actually have another appointment,
Okay.
but did you have any further questions? I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share.
No, no, thank you. Honestly, I think even just like the whole like having some like tangible examples for us, like it's a nice thing to be able to listen back to that and have that experience as well. But that's what I was going to say to you is thank you very much. And do you have anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring up to remind people? Like I said, I'm going to grab a list of your links, but like anything that you wanted to talk about or anything you'd like to remind people of before we wrap
Just
up?
know you are so worthy and capable of living in a body that feels good and a mind that has clarity. And if you have a desire, you're meant to live it. You don't have to stay in a state where you are not feeling joy and flow. And you're not alone and you don't need to be ashamed of it. So reach out so that you can start to see you the way you and I think, see your listeners, because we're all here for a reason, right? We're all extraordinary beings. And if we can help people tap into that then I've done my job. I hope your listeners will reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or even better, come into my website and get a 30-minute complimentary call.
100%. 100%. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And again, thank you so much for being on here. And thank you everybody out there for listening, and go and check out the website.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Much love and peace out. Bye now.